Okay, so get ready because we are going deep today.
Deep.
Yeah, this one's called Rubaiyat Weave with Omarian Echoes. I mean, even just the title, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot to unpack.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one.
So, what are we looking at here exactly?
Well, we're dealing with poetry, but also kind of philosophy too, and it all goes back to Omar Khayyam's Rubaiyat.
Oh, okay. I've definitely heard of that.
Yeah, it's a classic Persian poetry.
And when you say classic, I'm thinking, big questions about life and death and all that.
Exactly. That's what makes it so timeless.
Yeah.
And this poem, it just dives right in, like right from the first lines. Come, fill the cup, and in the fire of spring, the winter garment of repentance fling.
Okay, whoa, hold on. There's a lot there.
Right.
Filling I mean, obviously there's some symbolism going on there, right?
Yeah, definitely not talking about just any old beverage. Think of it more like embracing experience, saying yes to whatever life throws at you.
And then flinging off that winter garment of repentance. It's got to be about letting go of the past, right?
Exactly, like shedding those old regrets and embracing the present moment.
Especially with that fire of spring imagery. It's not just a new season, it's like intense energy.
Right, and then it's like, boom, next line. The bird of time has but a little way to fly, and lo, the bird is on the wing.
Wow.
That sense of urgency, time waits for no one.
So it's like a call to action, but it's also a reminder that time is slipping away. It kind of makes me think about, how much does that whole carpe diem thing actually apply to us today?
That's a good question.
Like, we're all about productivity and hustle culture these days. Is there even space for just like enjoying the moment?
I mean, there has to be, right? The poem seems to think so. Just look at how it describes nature.
Oh yeah, it gets pretty flowery, doesn't it?
Yeah, but in a good way. It's all very deliberate how it ties together love and nature and this idea of time passing.
It's like that line, she grows a clutch of blossoms to propose, his zephyr blows nature's page to disclose.
Exactly.
Super romantic, even kind of sensual.
Right. And it's not just about pretty flowers and a nice breeze. It's all about how quickly beauty fades, how life just keeps moving.
Like that other line about the tulips.
When showers of spring, the tulip's cheeks overflow.
Yeah, that's the one. It's so vivid.
It's like you can practically feel the rain,
Totally.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but for me, spring has always been about new beginnings, fresh starts.
For sure.
But then again, those tulips don't last forever, right? Spring turns into summer and so on.
It's beautiful, but also kind of sad when you think about it.
Which actually makes me think about that part of the poem called The Simple Life. Like, given how busy we all are these days, that section really hit home for me.
It's definitely a different pace compared to how most of us live, always rushing around, never slowing down.
Right. And this poem is all about finding contentment in the little things, appreciating the present moment. Is that even possible anymore, though?
It's a good question.
Like, on the one hand, we're more connected than ever.
Sure.
But then it's also super easy to get caught up in everything and completely lose track of, what really matters.
It's that tension, right? And that line, serenity can't find us unless we slow down. That just really resonated with me.
Oh, absolutely.
It's so true, though. We have to make the choice to slow down.
It's like the poem saying, hey, maybe those minimalist folks are onto something.
Yeah, you know what? You just took the words right out of my mouth. It's not just about living with less, though.
Right.
It's more like understanding why slowing down matters. And that's where that whole fundamental versus temporary thing comes in.
Oh yeah, things get kind of heavy there.
Definitely a shift in tone. Like 1 minute we're sipping wine in the garden, the next.
We're talking about the cosmos.
Exactly. But it's intentional, that shift. Look at how it's described. All the temporary complexities from the etern must someday fade away, even the universe with its grandness, dispersing its greatness into blandness.
Heavy stuff, right? Kind of makes you feel small, doesn't it? Like all our worries and deadlines.
Totally. But here's the thing. The poem doesn't just leave us hanging with that existential dread. It introduces this idea of a basis, like the foundation of everything.
Okay.
It says, in between, the basis sets a story that gets lived by the transients within, as life and all the stars, moons, and planets in a book from the Babel Library.
So let me see if I'm following. We've got this fundamental, this basis, unchanging, eternal.
Right.
And then there's the temporary, which is basically like everything we experience day to day.
Exactly, and our lives are happening right in the middle of all that, trying to find meaning, purpose against this backdrop of, I don't know, infinity, I guess.
It's a lot. It reminds me a little of like Plato's theory of forms, that whole idea of a perfect, unchanging realm versus our messy, impermanent world.
Interesting. Or what about like the concept of Brahman in Eastern philosophy, the ultimate reality behind everything?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. It's like this universal human thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wanting to understand where we fit in, find something solid in all the chaos.
Totally. That search for meaning, for something bigger than ourselves.
Yeah.
It's a constant, right? But then
Just when you think you've got a handle on things.
the poem hits us with quantum physics.
Out of nowhere.
Right. It's like, wait, what just happened? 1 minute it's roses and starlight, the next.
We're talking about quantum fields and the vacuum.
Seriously. It's kind of brilliant though.
Totally unexpected. And here's the thing, it actually kind of works. It's like the poem's saying that even at the most basic level, everything is in flux.
There's that constant creation and destruction, just like we were talking about with the seasons.
Mind blown. This poem is like a philosophy lecture and a science lesson, all wrapped up in one.
I know, right? But it's all connected, isn't it? I mean, that's kind of the whole point.
Everything goes back to that interconnectedness.
Right. Like, we're literally made of the same stuff as those stars and roses.
It's wild when you think about it that way. I
Yeah.
wonder what our listeners are thinking about all this, by the way.
Yeah, for real.
Is this fusion of poetry and science blowing your mind? Or is it just me?
And speaking of those roses and stars, you know, that imagery we keep coming back to, those roses.
Yeah.
It's not just there to be pretty, right? It's crucial to how the poem gets its message across.
Oh, totally. Like when it talks about spring becoming summer, that whole cycle of things.
Exactly, that constant interplay between creation and decay. So beautiful, but also kind of bittersweet. Like that line, and look, 1,000 blossoms with the day woke, and 1,000 scattered into clay. And this first summer month that brings the rose shall take Jamshid and Kaikobad away.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
That one always gets me.
It's a powerful reminder, isn't it?
That everything ends eventually.
But it's not meant to be depressing, you know? It's more like a call to appreciate what we have while we have it.
To really savor those moments, for sure.
Exactly, because whether we're talking about tulips or quantum fields or anything really,
It's all connected.
right, it's all part of this one big, incredible tapestry.
Which brings us back to that very first line, that invitation to fill our cups.
Live life to the fullest, right?
Exactly. Because it's all temporary in the end. This whole experience, this universe, it's all fleeting.
But what a ride it is, right? Totally. Speaking of which, where does that leave us? Any final thoughts for our listeners today?
You know, as you go about your day, just remember those roses and those stars and that connection between them, because that's what makes life worth living, isn't it?
Beautifully said. And on that note, we'll wrap things up for today. Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking those big questions, and keep finding those moments of wonder in the everyday.
Fate's embrace in this moment, time and space. Sing a river out, timeless arts, echo through the night in our hearts. Wisdom woven in the starlit skies, eternal truth never dies. Through the ages, voices ring, ancient tales, symphonies sing. Love and sorrow, joy and pain. In these verses we remain. silence, stars convene, mystic whispers surfing. Under moonlit beams we dream, in this cosmic epic scene.